Hey, I'm dying. What's up? It's the Culture Detective here investigating your favorite movies, and today I am once again for the 15th or 20th or 30th day in a row extremely sleep deprived and tired and busy because I have 19 million things happening to my face all at once. So today I'm going to briefly and very quickly talk about the movie Flow, which I finally finished watching last night at 4 a.m. in the morning. And yeah, it is nominated for an Oscar for Best Animated Feature. It is very talked about, and out of the five nominated animated features before Flow, I have seen zero of them because I wasn't really that interested in seeing these films to begin with. Inside Out 2, I haven't even seen the first one, so why am I watching the second one? Wallace and Gromit. I really want to go through all of the Wallace and Gromit films before this one. And The Wild Robot, I just don't have time to see that film, unfortunately. And then there's another film that I completely forgot. To me, it's still a crime that Look Back is not nominated because the Oscars do not know anime exists outside of Studio Ghibli and that one other film. But anyways, I digress. Flow is a movie animated and written and directed by Gintz Zelbalodis, who is a 30-year-old Latvian animator. Very impressive. So this entire film is made on Blender. And that is freaking crazy because I remember installing Blender on my laptop and just really, really struggling last year and just thinking, wow, this is too complicated. I don't know how to use it. I don't know how to move. I don't know how to scale things. I'm just super confused when I use Blender. And meanwhile, Mr. Zilbalodis here has made an entire movie with crazy camera movements, very realistic water physics, different animals, just using Blender, which is just absolutely insane in my opinion. When I watched this film, I was like, wow, I'm sorry for ever installing Blender because this guy here has pretty much mastered the art of Blender. Now, the other thing is because it is made on Blender, this feels like a video game. Actually, the entire aesthetic of Flow is basically one gigantic PlayStation video game. There's this one game that came out last year or a couple years ago where you get to play as a cat and you get to traverse around the Kowloon Walled City in Hong Kong, which is really cool. And watching Flow basically reminds me of that. You're playing the cat, the black cat, and you're just traversing this beautiful sunny world of animals and islands and trees and whatever. And there's just something so innocent and naive about it, but it's also the soundscape and the shading, the sunshine and the sound design as well, and the music as well. It's like it came straight out of a video game, which I think is really cool, but also at the same time it can come off a little bit tedious. So let me talk about what I don't like about Flow. Honestly, a lot of Flow is pretty simple, pretty straightforward. It's about a black cat sort of going on an adventure with four other animals: a dog, a giant bird, a capybara, and a macaque. Now, what I dislike about this film, and I wouldn't say it's a dislike, what I would love to see more of is excitement and storytelling. Okay, that's not the right word. Now it sounds like I find this film boring. It's not boring. It's just a lot of the times we see things and it feels like we're seeing them for the sake of seeing them, especially in the first half. Like when the black cat encounters a giant flock of birds and he gets or they get threatened, and there's there's a flood and then there's fruits falling from a tree. Like these scenes look good and they sound really good and it feels really immersive. But why am I seeing them other than for the fact that they are wonderful to look at? right? When I see something so beautiful, I don't want to just think it's beautiful. I want to know what it means for the story, for the world. I want to see some kind of meaning to it, for the lack of a better term. Now, obviously, the second half of the film pretty much does a great job at actually giving meaning. So the dog's characters, they sort of come back at the end, and the other macaque characters, they also come back at the end. And I really love that every single character in this movie has their own personal struggle, and their personal struggles, at first it's like kind of here and there, but at the end they sort of come back, and it's sort of like a full circle moment. There's a giant whale who shows up in the beginning, and it's like a very threatening monster, but at the end of the movie, the whale comes back and it's a totally different context. So the second half of the movie does wrap things up quite neatly, in my opinion. The other thing is, this movie's really unserious. Like, the animals in this movie, they know how to drive boats, they argue, they fight like human beings. And for something that's going for such a realistic vibe, but then have animals act so much like human beings, it's, I can't really take it that seriously, which is fine. It just, I just wish it's even goofier. If you're trying to go for something goofy, I just wish it would go even goofier. And the other thing I'm trying to say is, it's impressive because this movie is a no dialogue movie. There isn't a single line. And recently, I've done a couple of short films with no dialogue for a class, and writing a film with no dialogue can be very difficult. But then sometimes you watch movies like Flow, and another animated film with no dialogue that came to mind is Robot Dreams, that came out a couple years ago. Also, fantastic movie, by the way. Also, no dialogue. So much can be said without dialogue. And I think that's something all filmmakers should learn. But yeah, Flow is really solid. It could be better, but it is just a spectacle, in my opinion. A Blender spectacle, if you will. I'm giving Flow a strong 7 to a light 8 out of 10. So, have you watched Flow? Comments below, let me know. Subscribe if you want more. And thanks for watching. This is my first Latvian movie. This is my first Baltic movie.